In the simmering political landscape of mid-2025, the fragile truce between federal power and academic autonomy was shattered. An exclusive report from the Wall Street Journal on July 25 revealed that the Trump administration, fresh from securing a landmark settlement with Columbia University, was not merely taking a victory lap. It was preparing for a campaign. The Columbia deal, the article confirmed, was being wielded as a precedent and a roadmap for a series of confrontations with other elite American universities, with Harvard, the nation's oldest and wealthiest, squarely in its sights. This was not just another skirmish in the ongoing culture wars. It was the public unveiling of an audacious new strategy to fundamentally reshape American higher education. Using the immense leverage of federal research funding, the administration had embarked on a coercive campaign to enforce its ideological will, ostensibly to combat anti-Semitism, but with a far broader agenda aimed at the very heart of free inquiry, institutional independence, and the post-war consensus that had made American universities the envy of the world. The playbook for this new era of intervention was written in the turmoil that engulfed Columbia University's campus in the spring of 2024, as pro-Palestinian protests swelled, escalating from tent encampments to the occupation of Hamilton Hall. The university found itself paralyzed. The ensuing chaos and mass arrests fueled a powerful narrative, amplified by critics, that the administration had lost control and failed to protect its Jewish students from a pervasively hostile environment of harassment and intimidation. Columbia's own task force would later validate some of these claims, finding evidence of verbal abuse and humiliation targeting Jewish students. This campus-level crisis created the perfect political and legal opening for federal intervention. The Trump administration, through its Joint Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism, moved swiftly, launching investigations under the authority of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination in federally funded programs. The decisive blow, however, was not legal but financial. The abrupt freezing of over $400 million in vital, non-discretionary research grants. This act of economic warfare instantly transformed a campus dispute into a high-stakes standoff between a private university and the full might of the executive branch. Under the crushing weight of this financial pressure, Columbia capitulated. The terms of the settlement, announced in July 2025, were sweeping. The university agreed to a staggering $100 million payment to the U.S. Treasury and established a separate $21 million compensation fund for employees who had faced anti-Semitism. Far more significant were the policy concessions. Columbia committed to a raft of systemic changes, including the formal adoption of the controversial International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance (IHRA) definition of anti-Semitism. In its disciplinary processes, a complete overhaul of student discipline, a mandate to ensure viewpoint diversity in its Middle East studies programs, and the dismantling of specific diversity, equity, and inclusion day initiatives the administration deemed illegal. One of the most intrusive terms placed the Middle East Studies Department under a form of external academic receivership. The reaction was immediate and polarized, revealing to irreconcilable interpretations of the event. The White House, from President Trump to Education Secretary Linda McMahon, trumpeted the deal as a historic and seismic victory for accountability and merit, explicitly branding it a roadmap for elite universities. Columbia's leadership, in contrast, portrayed it as a painful but pragmatic choice. Acting President Claire Shipman framed the settlement as a necessary evil to restore lifeblood research funding and end a period of crippling uncertainty. The university's official statements clung to a clause that purportedly preserved its autonomy and authority over faculty hiring, admissions, and academic decision-making. a claim met with widespread skepticism. Within the campus, the sentiment was one of outrage. Faculty and student groups condemned the deal not as a negotiation, but as extortion on the government's part and capitulation on the university's part. The pro-Palestinian student group CUAD blasted it as a $221 million bribe to keep funding genocide. The Columbia settlement was more than a resolution. It was a proof of concept for a new model of ideological enforcement. The administration had masterfully fused the legally potent and emotionally charged issue of anti-Semitism with its pre-existing political agenda against gay and perceived liberal bias in academia. While the stated justification for intervention was the failure to protect Jewish students under Title VI, the final terms went far beyond that, demanding the elimination of unlawful DEI goals and an end to race-based outcomes.